Hello, beautiful people. You are listening to the Communal Table Podcast, part of Food and Wine Pro. I'm your host, Kat Kinsman, senior editor at Food and Wine, and the episode today was actually recorded last year, and for various reasons, we didn't have a chance to run it at the time. But because of the subject matter of it, it seems more relevant than ever. I sat down with John Becker and Megan Scott, who are the authors and stewards of the latest edition of The Joy of Cooking. John's great-grandmother was the original author of the book, and it's been handed down in the family for generations now. And he and Megan, at the time that we were recording this, were nearing the finish line on their edits of and rewrites of this volume that so many people hold dear. I'm thinking this is especially relevant right now because so many of us are quarantined at home and cooking perhaps more than we ever have in our entire lives. And I'm just finding myself reaching for all of my editions of The Joy of Cooking over and over and over again. I'm lucky enough to be in possession of my husband's grandmother's copy and ones that I've brought with me throughout my life, some that I have bought at used bookstores or on eBay. And my husband came to our relationship with a copy of his own as well. And it's just one of those touch points throughout people's lives. You remember when you got your first copy of Joy of Cooking and the circumstances in which it came into your life. And it's it's made by real people. And I have had the joy and privilege of getting to know John and Megan over the last couple of years. I wrote a story about them for Food and Wine magazine at the end of 2018. And they're just such special, incredible human beings. And I just wanted you to hear from them about how much love and labor went into the making of this book. I also wanted to warn up front that there's mention of suicide near the beginning of the episode because it figures into the origin story of the book, and I just wanted to warn that up front. And as always, if you listen to this podcast, you have heard me shout out crisis text line many, many times. Text 741-741, and a caring human will be at the other end of that exchange, waiting to help you. Without any more of my rambling, here are Megan and John.
Thanks for having us.
It's great to be here.
So just to set the scene for folks, we are in Santa Fe for the IACP conference. I never remember, International Association of Culinary Professionals?
Correct.
Yes.
Nailed it.
Yay. And we actually met at this very same conference in New York City last year when you told me a story that I didn't know about the origins of The Joy of Cooking. Do you want to give people the brief recap of what that is?
John, do you want to?
John, who's the fourth generation of this book? Oh no.
Yeah. So the genesis of the book was my great grandmother Irma had raised two children, Marion and Edgar, who had moved out of the house. And her husband, Edgar Sr., was suffering from prostate cancer and also was prone to depression. And so, he committed suicide. And, it was actually, we just recently learned, was very kind of conscientious about it. Actually called somebody, a friend of the family, to show up so that no one, not a single member of his family had to see the results. But he committed suicide. We think because
this was in the 30s.
Yeah, I think
or
it was.
The
20s.
Late 20s.
Yeah,
late 20s. I think it was 29.
Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Yeah. At any rate, so he did that, and Irma was, had no financial livelihood to speak of, and she did have some savings put away, but not very much. So she just for no really good, like no compelling reason, just decided to self-publish a cookbook, with, I think, half of her savings. And that's how the first edition was published.
And at the time, like, half her savings was several $1,000s.
I think it was about $3,000
Yeah.
that
Right.
she used to publish that book.
And this is in the thick of the Depression.
Yeah, it was at the very, very beginning of the Depression. And she had it printed with a local printer. She would go to bookstores and, basically do the hard sell on the book.
She sold copies to all her friends and family. And I think a lot of people were a little confused as to why she was writing a cookbook.
Like, by all accounts, she was a stellar hostess, right?
Exactly. She was a host, known for her hosting skills, but not so much for her cooking skills.
Right.
Her goal was very much, or at least it seems, looking at it now, it seems that her goal was to hang out with her friends, have something tasty to snack on, but she really just wanted to be where the action was and not in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so this has all been passed down through your family, through historians, and so you have this connection to the past.
Yeah, I'm for sure. I think we're all indebted to Anne Mendelsohn for writing a very thorough history of the early years of the book. But yeah, no, it's been passed down. A lot of this information has also been passed down through my father.
Yeah. He worked on many editions of the. So how many editions of the book have there been? I know that there have been sort of offshoots, and how many are canon?
It depends on how you count, but it's either 9 or 10. The reason why it's a little ambiguous is because in the 40s there were 2 editions that were virtually identical, but one was published during World War II, so it actually had a lot of information on how to kind of cope with rationing. And so all of that was taken out in the 1946.
Yeah, I am a possessor of many editions of this book. I had already had a bunch in hand when I interviewed you for a story that I wrote for Food and Wine, the December edition of 2018, because I met you at this conference last year, and it was at the perfect intersection of mental health and food, which is, I think, the sweet spot for sort of all of us. And there's that backstory of it that is really compelling to me, and the sort of almost irony of the title. But what I really, really loved is I have my mother-in-law is no longer with us. She would have been in her late 90s by now. Well, actually, it's her mother's copy. So my husband's grandmother's copy, his me mama, has her notes in the margin. It is duct taped on the spine. I have the edition that I picked up at some point in college or grad school, probably as a present from somebody saying, as millions have, you're on your own now. Here's how you learn to cook. Yes. And so I had a few editions in there, and then when I met my husband, he had his own copy of it in addition to that. But then after I spent time with you last year, where you live in Portland, I went to Powell's, the bookstore in town, and bought up all the editions that they had there as well. And I sort of religiously tracked things through there about where things got super health conscious in a kind of strange way. And,
well, yeah, it's interesting. Like Marion in particular was focused.
Oh, tell people Marion is.
Oh, I'm sorry, Marion Rombauer Becker. That's my grandmother, and unfortunately never got to meet her. But she was very conscious of nutritional, just nutrition in general, and she actually did include, I think, a calorie counting chart in the back of the book, and she had a lot of
early recipes. They weren't called gluten free then, but it was like wheat free or things made with different starches and flours. And this is like the 60s and 70s. And she had I don't think this was from a health angle, but she had things like tofu and soy milk recipes in the book pretty early on.
Yeah, and she was corresponding with Shirtleaf and Aokagi, the book of tofu people. She was really into soy.
Yeah.
I was so surprised to see that, because y'all had alluded to it when we spoke before, and then I went through those editions, and it was because I have, whatever
version you came on first is your canon of it. So there are
Right.
going to be people who are real mad that if there's not a squirrel thing around.
Yes, the squirrel. The squirrel comes up a lot.
There's squirrel, there are varying fats. There are, I mean, I love those older editions where it's taking into account how you kill the thing that you kill. And the same thing with Charleston receipts. Actually, I have, additions to that where it's like, here's how to kill the tortoise when you're doing this.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, a lot of people think that those that the game recipes kind of were from, like, the first edition or whatever. But Irma was a society lady. She was a fancy lady. She was a fancy lady. So yeah, actually, a lot of those came into play. A lot of them were added in the '60s edition, and that's the edition Marion took over the book. Irma passed away in the early '60s, and Marion published her first edition in 1963, and she just came at it with this kind of completist attitude where she just wanted to create this, the kitchen work.
Didn't your dad say she wanted it to be like the Larousse gastronomique of America?
Yeah,
that was her.
No, she had
vision.
She had a very like like a modernist sensibility when it comes to that. She wanted it to be kind of like just all encompassing. You could go to this book for answers regardless of whether or not you have a muskrat in front of you, or if you're trying to figure out how to chiffon on some basil.
I mean, it really is such a definitive thing. I mean, because like, I want to make just about anything, and I know that the fundamentals are going to be in there. But then there are things that go away during it, and people get they're in their feelings about maybe say their favorite Jello or gelatin recipe has been excised.
Yeah, it's hard to know. I mean, I feel like as stewards, writers.
What do you call yourself?
I don't even know what our job title is. We try to take care of the book. I guess that makes us stewards. But yeah, it's just like coming at it from our perspective, it's very hard to know like what is going to cause the least amount of
stress, anxiety. Yes,
You're dealing with something that none of the previous editions had to, and that's immediate feedback.
Yes,
absolutely.
And that's because. So I know that you came into the picture. What year was that?
2010.
2010, yeah.
Though, John, I know you had sort of grown up with the possibility of this being your...
Yeah, it was always... I always got the, you follow your dreams, but, if you want, this book is here for you. So, I was busy following my dreams up until about 2010. And decided that it was a little... I don't know. Just, I felt like I owed something to... not only to the family, but just to the book, because... I don't know. There was a moment that I think we discussed in our interview.
For people who aren't familiar with this, and because there's only so much you can put into print, the basement moment, would you please share it? Because you told me this when we met at IACP last year, and I believe I started crying, and it just... Please, just if you don't mind sharing this moment.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, it's,
Because this is also going in the movie adaptation when this happens.
Yeah, it's pretty dramatic. No, I was at a point in my life where I wasn't quite sure what was coming next, and I had been working on been a editorial assistant. I'm not doing this well. Sorry. I was an editorial assistant on this project where a professor of mine had published like 17 books of literary criticism, and that's kind of what I was hoping to do with my life, was to go to grad school, and become kind of disillusioned with the job prospects and what, and I really just didn't know what was going to happen next. And I was working customer service at a coffee shop, and
which turned out to be a great thing. We'll get to that.
But yeah, so I was in my dad's basement, and I was visiting for some holiday. I think it was Thanksgiving, and there was a book that I become very familiar with these really dry collections of lit crit, like these compilations or whatever. And for some reason, my dad's he's not an English major kind of guy. And I was like, what is this? I saw a copy of one of these books on his shelf, and I was like, what the hell is that doing here? And, I looked in it, and I figured, okay, maybe Marian or Irma is talked about in here or something. And lo and behold, there was this quote from Marian that actually, I found out later, it turned out to be the dedication to the night. Yeah, it was the dedication to the 1963 edition. And she just said that she had really hoped that the family just continues to take on the book. And, it's just the way it was. I'm butchering the words right now, but I just felt suddenly super connected to her and also implicated. And it was terrifying and also kind of freeing, because, it's all of a sudden it's that burden of choice had been not taken away, but it just all of a sudden it's oh yeah, that's right. I have something here, and I have a skill set that I can bring to bear on it. And that's kind of what had kept me from doing anything with the book before. Cause I've always cooked, always, enjoyed food, but it's just not I never felt like I had the natural aptitude. And of course, I feel like we're meant to kind of idolize that, this oh, you have this innate understanding of this, you're you've been kissed by the muse or whatever.
You've pulled the sword from the stone.
Exactly.
I'm thinking of all these origin myths kind of stories, you got Harry Potter and it's
right.
with the scar, you have just all of these, I don't know, Batman and, various radioactive spiders. So this note from the past is your radioactive spider.
It was. It really was. Yeah, it was yeah. I wish it had been a radioactive spider.
I know. What is your favorite superhero? Do you have one?
Oh my God.
I've just started delving into a lot of Marvel, which might be why this is on my...
I don't know if I'm a superhero person at all.
Are you a Buffy person or any of these?
I think I might have been if I had been born a little earlier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think I might have been a Buffy person.
But this is a chosen one kind of thing. It's basically
definitely, I lean towards the Deadpool guy.
Okay, I actually was gonna. I didn't want to, but I wanted to because I am very much a Deadpool person. So I get this. This your mutant ability is suddenly fired up by this.
Exactly.
This note all of a sudden you take on this invincibility. But so the two of you are not together at this point.
Right. Yeah.
Because I want to talk about the two of you coming together here.
Yeah. The next steps for me, I started considering, culinary school, just because, that's what I was at least wired to do. It's okay, well, obviously I need to go through the professional channels and, become certified or whatever.
and here's your blessing. You have been kissed by the, ghost of Julia Child.
Yes.
And the thing is, I'm actually here in town, moderating a panel on imposter syndrome, and I was thinking there are a few people sort of more born to this than you are. And
absolutely. No, it's funny. I read the description of your panel. I was like, oh, that's actually going to be very useful for me.
We're gonna talk it through. But so you had decided to maybe, your father was still in the thick of writing the books.
Right. Yeah. My father and his ex-wife, Susan, who actually had a very large part to play in the 2006 edition. Mm-hmm. They were still in the thick of it. Well, I guess it was after that I had decided this. Kind of the dust had settled from the last edition. There wasn't very much going on in the world of the book at that moment. I think we were putting together a website and... yeah, we were discussing apps at that point, I think. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I don't know. You're looking at me and I have no idea. This is pre-me.
But you had started doing this stuff and you're working at a coffee shop. And Megan, let's talk about where you were at the time and how the two of you happened to meet through this book.
Yeah, well, so I didn't grow up in a joy of cooking family. My mom was a Southern Living fan. And so she had,
and that's still it's our cousin at Food and Wine, so we're real happy about that.
Nice.
Actually, it's all the same company. So.
Okay, cool. Yeah, my mom had every single, Southern Living would do these yearly cookbooks, and she collected every single one.
It's a religion.
It is a religion. And she cooked from them. I remember she liked to cook from the ones that were from the years that her children were born. Oh. So she cooked from mine, 1988, then 1992 and 1998. So she liked to pick recipes from those. My mom is a very, very sweet, lovely human being. And so I didn't grow up knowing joy of cooking, really, but I knew that it was kind of shorthand for like the Bible of cooking. Like if you really wanted to learn how to cook, you could learn how to cook from joy. So when I moved out and I was going to college, and I bought it one summer because I was going to work on a goat dairy, and I was going to be living on the farm and living in my own little house. And I was responsible for feeding myself all of a sudden, and I kind of knew how to cook some things, but not really. Like I just watched my mom and tried to figure things out. So I wanted to have a reference, and I went to Borders Books and bought The Joy of Cooking.
Is Borders still around?
No, they are not,
Right.
sadly.
Just a while ago.
They did. So I bought Joy of Cooking and proceeded to learn how to cook from it, and had a lot of I roasted my first chicken using Joy. I'm pretty sure I made my first pie crust from Joy. So I had all these really positive experiences with the book and really loved it. And so flash forward a bit to when we were both living in Asheville, North Carolina, and John was working at this coffee shop. I didn't know him yet, but I was working at a bakery that was kind of around the corner from the coffee shop. And I would go there to do a lot of reading and homework and things like that. And I think we had a couple of little conversations. Like I was reading a book for a class and you asked me about it. And
you said he said something smart.
Yeah, he said something smart. He wasn't just like, oh, cool, or interesting. I can't remember what you said about it, but you said something smart and I was impressed. And so, but I was at work one day and one of my coworkers, I think we were talking about Joy of Cooking, and he said, well, did you know that the guy whose family wrote The Joy of Cooking works at the coffee shop down the street? It was called The Drippolator.
That's a terrible name. I'm sure it's a lovely place.
I think they changed your name to High Five Coffee.
Yeah.
Because the owner, Jay, he likes to give everybody high fives. So I guess
that's cute.
It is cute.
Really cute.
He's a cute man. He's a good guy.
But so I didn't believe him, and so I went to the coffee shop. I think that day I went, and I asked the barista about it, and it happened to be John. That was the barista that day. And he turned bright red and said, he kind of raised his hand and said, yeah, that's me. And then kind of chuckled about it. And I just remember thinking that was the coolest, I don't know. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I felt like I was meeting.
Little did she know.
Let's fast forward a week and a half or something to that. You're living together.
Yeah, pretty much.
We moved in. You moved into my apartment 2 weeks after that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
But after a coq au vin.
Yes.
Right.
John, you made me coq au vin. And that was another impressive thing because I had only ever dated guys that either didn't cook anything or their idea of cooking was instant mashed potatoes, which nothing wrong with that, but coq au vin is...
Especially for gnocchi. It's really good for gnocchi.
Yeah.
But you also knew who she was because she was the cheddar scallion biscuit girl.
She was known at the coffee shop as the cheddar scallion biscuit girl.
Which plays into the book, actually, because you were making those at the bakery where you were working.
Yes.
And where could people find that recipe now?
It will be in the upcoming edition of The Joy of Cooking.
Yeah, but with some special tweaks, because now there's the frico bottom.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did tweak the recipe over time, and originally it didn't have the cheesy feet on the bottom, but I added that because I loved the Crispies. But yes, it has little cheesy biscuit feet. So
cheesy biscuit feet. And we included that along with the story in the print edition. And I will tell you, so many people have told me they brought that to holiday parties.
Oh, that's awesome!
And they, apropos of nothing, or like other editors at the magazine were telling me like, oh my God, my friends, brought this to the party I was at or something. So
that's
amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's already a huge thing. So the two of you got together and you started working on, you were testing you were working on the website, you were doing all this stuff, and handling reader feedback.
Yeah, so in order, we went through an apprenticeship, I guess you could call it, where, we moved from Asheville to live with my father and his ex-wife now, Susan. And we were there to kind of learn about the book, and all of the like research materials that they had were awesome, and there was a big cookbook library that a lot of the titles had actually been taken from Marian's library, and she was actually really into the library aspect of it. She had a card system,
a card catalog
system.
She had like
cookbooks.
Put book covers on all her books, and they each had a number, and they were organized according to like, I think it was the Dewey Decimal System.
Yeah, it was like some variation on Dewey Decimal, or maybe it was.
Where does this live now? Her collection?
Well, a lot of the collection was kind of broken up a little because there was a lot of stuff that was not, a lot of stuff had been mixed in over the years, and not all of it by Marian that, we just didn't feel like for instance, we were going through some of those books, and some of them were like diet books from the 80s, like recipe books, that like one of them was actually like a high carb diet, like focus book.
Taters.
Yeah.
Which would have been awesome, just to keep for just the novelty value, but eventually I think we all know that you run out of space when you collect cookbooks. And
y'all have, I will say, having been to your home, you have a stellar collection of cookbooks.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. It is enviable.
We try, we try to.
And some of those are from Marian's library.
Definitely.
So we kind of did break up the collection a bit, and some of it still lives with John's dad in Tennessee, and we have some of it, and I think some of it we sold or got rid of or something.
Yeah, some of it did get taken
Cold.
to Ed McKay's.
Yeah.
And you do have every edition.
Absolutely.
We do.
Yeah.
There's one family copy of the 1931, and it lives in a deposit box at the bank.
I was going to say it's got to be. So you showed me documents at your home that I had a physical reaction to seeing them. And
we receive emails fairly regularly from readers, but we've sometimes received letters, and in one particular case, a woman was moving into an assisted living facility, and she wanted to send us her extremely beat up copy of Joy of Cooking.
It was literally in pieces.
It's in pieces.
Yeah. It was rubber banded.
You showed it to me in a bag, I think.
Yeah, it's in a bag. But she wanted to send it to us, and she sent us a note along with it that we were both in tears. It was, I can't really remember all the specifics of the letter.
I think I have a picture of it on my phone.
Oh yeah,
I think I do.
Yeah, it's like I fed an entire family out of this book, and it's. I can't. Yeah,
her loves, her losses, all that. Oh, because she was saying she knows she's not gonna cook anymore, probably because she's moving into this facility, and she was afraid when she moved on to her great reward that people wouldn't understand the importance of this particular volume, so she sent it back to you.
Yes.
Wow, you have a really good memory.
I mean, this visit with you was really intense for me. I've gotten a sense of some of the correspondence that you field, and the level and weight of emotions. Because the thing is, like, people, I think with the new edition they will buy it, but a frequent scenario is that you are given this copy when you are making a transition in your life.
Yeah, and we see a lot of, like, recently we had a woman posting on Instagram about her grandmother who was 102, I think, who gave her copy of Joy of Cooking, and she had just received it and was posting it on Instagram, and of course we're responding, and I don't know, it's just, there's so much emotion, and it's so emotional for a lot of people, and I think that we take that really seriously, and we want to respond in kind, and like, we know how important the book is to people, so we're trying to do our best to not mess anything up, but also honoring people's experiences and relationships and memories with the book. It's super important to us.
I mean, I guess I knew that it was like a kitchen talisman for so many different families, but I definitely did not expect to have like such a deep and just such a deep connection with complete strangers. It's changed my life for sure.
And brace for impact, because that is so much more of that is coming. And I've seen the rigor that you have put into this new edition: blood, sweat, tears, sleepless nights, anxiety,
all the above.
How many recipes are ish? I know you're still you're what phase are you in right now?
We're looking at the very last the very last few chapters in first pass. So, basically we're proofreading right now, and I think all of the illustrations are done. Yeah,
Yes.
all the
Wood
illustrations.
cuts.
Oh, and the paper
paper
cuts, right?
cuts.
Paper cuts, sorry.
Yeah. The paper cuts are awesome. We're really excited about those.
Yeah.
So how many ish recipes do you think it's going to ballpark?
Well, so we know that we're adding over 600 new recipes.
Oh, wow.
We, like the publisher, when they tally up the number of recipes for for press releases and whatnot, they count, variations on recipes. But I want to say that on the page, it's like over 2,600 recipes, which translates like if in, the way that our publisher is counting, where you you add a few optional ingredients and all of a sudden it's a new recipe.
Right.
It's like over 4,500, I think. So.
Let us all just sit with that number for a moment, because also I know the rigor that you're putting in this. You tested everything.
Yeah, everything new.
No,
We personally, there are a few recipes that we had contributed by friends or people that we know who we might happen to love one of their recipes and ask them if we could use it. But we personally developed and tested all of our own recipes. And then we had a small team of testers that we used to help us test recipes we were developing, as well as older ones that we were either tweaking or we just wanted to make sure that it worked.
Yeah, I mean, so the ones we developed, we wanted to make sure that they worked for some other person. And then also, I feel like some of the recipes some of the legacy recipes that we felt like were pretty solid to begin with, we just, we would hand those off to testers. But yeah, it was all done in home kitchens. No test kitchens,
Nothing fancy.
Nothing fancy.
Yeah, I am marveling over this, because I've seen your kitchen and it's a lovely home kitchen. Now, I expected to come into. I was surprised to find out that the two of you were real people, because which honestly I found out from social media. I think I had tweeted something and you had responded to it or something. I was like, oh, and I started looking into it. I was like, I thought this was like a corporation at this point. And to find out not only that it was two human beings, but two human beings from the family who were doing this, it floored me. It's that much of an institution in my head.
Yeah, we frequently interact with people who just assume that they're talking to a social media manager as opposed to an author. Or editors or whatever we are. But yeah, no, it's a blessing and a curse, because I feel like, because there are no strong personalities associated with the book, that allows people to imprint on it, a little bit.
Yeah.
Where it's not necessarily like, John and Megan's book, it's, Mom's Joy of Cooking or whatever. So, it's just there's pros and cons to it.
But
sure.
I think we do want people to know that there are people behind the book that care very deeply about it and about the readers of the book, and we're not just a faceless corporate institution.
Yeah, that certainly has been the struggle over the last, ever since we got involved, is just to let people know that yes, we are real.
And please note this, people, when you're interacting with them on social media when the book comes out, maybe your grandmother's favorite recipe is not in there anymore. Keep that old edition, please.
Yeah, don't throw away your old edition.
Please don't yell at John and Megan for that. Well, and then the extremity of writing this book, which is, for everyone I know who's written a cookbook, it's a weird ass thing to do. Like, just being a food editor, it's we don't eat like normal people. There is no normal for this. And so you're put in the position of having to do all of these things. I imagine there had to be a huge amount of self-care and talking down of voices and stuff, like when all of a sudden, okay, I got to make several thousand different things. And sometimes everybody has different emotional reactions to different particular foods. I know that I have some where I just like, for some reason, eat perfectly, it's visually tastes fine or whatever, but I can't emotionally get near a certain food for whatever reason that somebody else isn't going to have a problem with or something. So we all have our things. So what was that process like sort of for both of you, thinking like, okay, we have to interact with food and do all this?
I mean, I don't know. It took place over such a long period of time. And yeah, there were periods where we were testing like, a lot. But I mean, I don't think I ever had any hang-ups with a particular dish.
One of the things that's been really amazing is John doesn't have very many, I feel like you're a normal, you just like food and you like eating. For me, that's great because you're never going to be weird about food around me.
God,
you know
what I mean?
Blessing
to have someone who's not weird about food.
There are very few things that I can say like I dislike. I can't even really think of anything.
Well, and you don't seem to. I mean, you have things that you love, and food, I'm sure there are foods that hold emotional significance for you, but you don't seem to attach negative emotions to food very much.
Yeah, I mean,
what's that like?
I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's anything I attach negative emotions to.
But from the time I met you, I think one of our first conversations was about how we both loved blue cheese, and I was like, okay, I can work with this. And then you liked the biscuits I made at the bakery, and then you cooked for me, like you made me breakfast and you made me coq au vin, and you were like.
Did I make like a Thai curry for you that was like too spicy?
So, oh my God. Well, no, it wasn't. It was fine, but you had put a couple whole Thai chilies in there and you didn't tell me. So I ate one, and before I realized, it was halfway down my throat before I realized that I had just eaten a whole chili.
Oh my God.
I'm a jerk like that. No. I feel like I've done that I did that to your friend as well.
But it was really delicious.
I feel the burn. Once it stops burning, once the tears subside.
Once I stop crying, it's all going to be fine.
It's an important thing in a relationship, at least for me, where I had dated some people who cared very much about food and some people who really were incredibly indifferent to it. And there's one guy, such a sweet, sweet person, but he was entirely indifferent to food. And it was almost an annoyance for him to have to eat. And I thought, like, am I just being petty here? Like, and then I dated somebody who I dated a few people who I really, really loved eating with them, not just like what they ordered, but the way they approached food was really important to me. And actually one who I'm still friends with, when we broke up and then went to get lunch and sort of ritualized it as our last time. And we're like, we're going to be friends in the future, but for right now, like, let's go to this place and do that. 'Cause he was, and the thing is, like, there's a lot of things about the relationship I didn't miss, but I was like, I'm going to miss eating with you. It's like the thing we said to each other. And when I met Douglas, my husband, online, one of the first things I think I had in the ad that I needed somebody who like was kind to servers and tipped really well, but also just really loved it, like gave a damn about it, and having that person who loves it the same way you do is huge.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I'm trying to think of like previous girlfriends who were not enthusiastic.
There was no one before you.
That's very flattering.
And then y'all took on a really big commitment by deciding to write this book.
No, yeah, I mean,
to write, to edit, to steward, to be the Ouija board medium.
Yeah, exactly. Ouija board medium. I like that. That should be that's our job title. No, I think our relationship was 3 months old when we decided to move and start working on the book
into
full-time.
A double wide.
Yeah. The recipe testing took place in a renovated double wide for a while.
So you were recipe testing for the digital edition of the book?
Well, we were it was all going towards like the future, like the next edition, I guess, like in a very vague way, but there was no it was just like, okay, you're going to apprentice with us and you're going to test the recipes that were in the last edition. That was pretty much how we started working for the family. And, I think a lot of stuff got tacked on. We ended up doing an app for iPhone and iPad that was like a huge deal, and actually like gave us pretty much like the best understanding we could ever possibly have of how that book is constructed, and like gave us ideas about what needs to happen. And I mean, it was just like the best learning experience ever. Was working on the app, because it really just meant taking straight up Word documents and then trying to structure them with metadata, and also trying to like it was just crazy, and we had to oversee the whole process, which included like like proofreading transcriptions that the publisher paid for from for like, I guess it was an Indian contractor.
Yeah, they sent it.
Yeah, and then we had to
book
proofread the entire damn thing before the app developer got it.
Oh my
God. So yeah, no, I mean that's like one of like, I don't even know how many times we've read through the last edition, not to mention the new edition.
Yeah,
like it's
so many times.
But we kept like copious notes like throughout the entire thing, and we ended up with like a really good outline going into actually writing the new, when we started working on the new edition in earnest, we had like a full outline, what we planned to do to each and every individual section of each chapter, like, kind of what we were going to cut, what we were going to add, like what kind of blind spots we thought the book had, as far as, covering certain subjects. And it was... that was probably not even close to an answer to the question.
No, it really, because I want people to understand the rigor that you have put into this. Because again, like I assumed it was a big team, and sort of all of this, and you went through an editorial switch like in the middle of this.
Yeah, our editor left for a different job. Actually, this past December. The
Merry
end
Christmas.
of December, right before we were all about to leave for vacation.
And you were sick. I remember I saw on Twitter that I wasn't sure which one of you was sick, but like making soup with a lot of ginger in it. And
that is honestly, that should be in everybody's chicken soup playbook. Like if
we talk a lot about soup on the podcast, by the way.
No, but just like grating some fresh ginger and garlic, the good medicinal / tasty things into a bowl before you pour in the soup. It's fantastic.
And I think you even put lemon zest and
lots
of herbs, like just chopped herbs.
Yeah, tons
in
of
there.
herbs. I mean, obviously they're healthy, right?
But you found this out, and you were pretty far into the process by this point. So terror strikes into the heart.
I think we were already like past deadline. I think.
Yes, we were.
Yeah.
And had we started copy editing yet? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think we might have been. I don't know.
So the book is so large. I think I don't actually know how it normally works for most authors, but my understanding is you write the book, you turn in your manuscript, it gets copy edited. With Joy of Cooking, we've been working on different chapters. Like we didn't start at the beginning of the book and go to the end. We kind of jumped around because we didn't want any one chapter to get short shrift at the very end and having to rush anything. So
especially the last chapters.
The last chapters
because they're so heavy with reference material. It's like, if we're going to give attention to these subjects, we need to do it right.
But yeah, so we were still working on the first draft of some chapters while we were simultaneously copy editing the fourth or fifth draft of other chapters. And then we started doing all the proofreading on the pages, which
before we were done with
we were done with copy editing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. There's so many, and you have a new editor,
yes,
but who luckily.
Yeah, she's luckily her name's Mara Stetz, and she's been a godsend. Like she worked on the last two editions.
That was 97 and 2006.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So she just hit the ground running. I mean, she knew exactly what the scope of it. Like she knew what she was getting into. We did not have to kind of educate her, which we were that was actually the most terrifying part when we realized that our editor was going to be leaving. Was like, oh God,
how do we bring someone into this project now? Because we don't have time to bring someone up to speed on this project.
Because that would knock it back another year.
Yeah,
if they didn't get it.
No, absolutely. But yeah, it's been great. I mean, I mean, considering
she's been a really
considering
good
the circumstances, I feel like we've really lucked out.
Yes.
And in the end, I think it's going to be a better book because of her involvement. So
Let's talk about some of the new stuff, because I mean, the thing that is really interesting to me that I feel like you all are doing in a really responsible way, America looks different. In so many different ways than the original editions of this. It looks different technologically, racially, culturally. A million different things have changed, and you really wanted to reflect the reality of who Americans are and do it in a respectful and responsible way. And we're definitely living in a time where that it's the ethical and moral duty of everybody who's working in food to make sure that they're giving credit where it's due, and to have a wider lens than they maybe had in the past.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's hard to choose the right language to talk about that aspect of it, because like the publisher, for instance, when we put out the press release for the new book, they were like emphasizing how we were coming in with more international recipes, and it's like, I mean, that's okay to say, I suppose, but it's not international at all. It's just like these are our fellows,
fellow
these are our
citizens.
neighbors,
Yeah, I mean, immigrant populations, like I feel like in Portland there's a fair amount. Yes. Like,
I mean,
our neighborhood has lots of Eastern European, people of Eastern European descent, Vietnamese descent.
Yeah, Mexican. Like we are, one of our favorite close supermarkets is just like Supermercado Mexico. It's like
fantastic,
our happy place to get chilies and all the things.
It's hard not to go in there and not just feel better.
Yeah.
Like it's a very nice place.
I mean, where I did find it go to breakfast, my ritual breakfast, this morning, I went in there in this beautiful little cafe place and got carne. I always mess up carne adobada. Like I mess it up every time, and I'm really sorry. But with my eggs, and it's American, and it's,
absolutely.
And it's it's reality that probably wasn't in one of the original editions.
Oh no. Yeah.
So what are some of the recipes that have come in, and how did you get them?
Well, let's see. Okay, so we definitely have a recipe now for kalbi. Let's see, what other ones that Yojin helped us.
Japchae, the sweet potato starch noodles that are kind of sautéed, and they're like carrots in there. And we have a close friend who kind of helped consult on those recipes, and she actually, for the japchae, she provided I think the way her mother makes it. And she helped us consult with us on our kimchi recipe. We have a recipe for kimchi because it's something we love.
The makni.
Yeah, chicken makni, which was contributed by a friend of ours in Portland whose name is Kusuma Rao, and she is an amazing chef, and she does Indian food, and everything she cooks, like we went to her house for dinner, and
she's actually from the Southwest, so it's interesting that like a lot of the stuff that she does, she's kind of combining like the Southwestern chili culture with her home cooking, her Indian American home cooking, but a lot of the time, I mean, we've just researched the hell out of something before we even attempt to write a recipe.
And done a lot of eating.
and a lot of eating. Yeah.
Your spice pantry is beautiful. I think I took a lot of pictures of your spice pantry.
Yeah, we have all of our spices kind of arranged on these two shelves in our kitchen in jars, which is probably not how you're supposed to store.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do it that way.
Spices, but we use them.
They are decor
quickly.
too. I mean, they're beautiful. Make no mistake.
Well, I mean, like, okay, so they're getting a little bit more light, but at the same time, we try to grind our whole, keep the spices whole and grind them, in smaller batches. So I feel like we're doing okay with like the spice upkeep. But I mean, it's true. Like some of them we don't use very much. Like celery seeds. Like how often do I pull those out?
Weirdly, I do all the time.
Really?
I have a barbecue rub recipe that I make in bulk, and we use it for absolutely everything.
Wow.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of celery seed in there.
Please share. I would
we need to.
And that's the thing where I think I had gotten like a basic like Stephen Ricklin like rub recipe, but then have been adding different things to it over the years,
Right.
and I seriously make like I make it in bulk because we use it in bulk, and I give it away to anytime I see my sister-in-law. I like bring her like a quart container of it.
A quart container?
Yeah, because they go through it really quickly with it too.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. Well, they live in like North Carolina, so I don't get to see them all the time, and like they store it carefully. So
and they like barbecue.
Yeah, very much so. And they can go and do this a lot. Oh gosh, actually, I remember we deep fried the Thanksgiving turkey one year with that all up in it. It was
nice.
God, that was so good.
That sounds amazing.
It really was quite fantastic. So and there's some voice and humor in there too. There are some Easter eggs in there.
Yeah, we try. We try to. Irma is the one that, especially like people like Ann Mendelsohn really try to emphasize that Irma was the one that had kind of like the this quirky wit, and like some of her head notes. Like even I did an interview a few days ago with somebody about like pasta salad and how it's appeared in the book. And like the first recipe we had for pasta salad is like in the 1943 edition, and it's basically like her head note to that was like, "This is much better than it sounds." like just some like real. There's always like just like little nuggets of real talk in there.
I have laughed reading various editions of it.
No, she's
and there was
awesome. Funny
there was
and
one
stuff,
that
and
was like, I wish I could. I think the head note said, "I wish I could think of something clever to say for every recipe." But here it is,
right. But there are like cultural references that you have slipped in there.
Yeah. We got to do a Twin Peaks reference for the
cherry pie.
For the cherry pie.
Oh, okay. And the thing that the three of us have talked about is we are all quite Twin Peaks obsessed.
Yes.
To the point where I am actually putting a room in my house that is a Black Lodge.
I'm so jealous.
I know. Well, you will come and see it at some point. I hope. I found out where to get the floor. And fingers crossed that a certain person will say yes to doing a blurb for this, a key figure in the...
Yes.
Fingers crossed.
We've been emailing with Kyle MacLachlan, which doesn't feel like a thing.
Well, I think we've just bullied him into it now by saying...
Yes.
Oh, and can we have a moment for Peggy Lipton, who just died
I heard
days
about
ago?
that.
Yeah. And she was the vendor of the great cherry
Norma.
pie.
Yeah.
She played Norma... Who's it? It wasn't Norma Desmond. That was from Streetcar.
Oh my God. What was her last name?
Yeah, but it was... it's... Oh, I love that you have that in there. That makes me so happy.
Is it Jennings?
Norma Jennings.
Yes.
Yeah.
And spoiler for those who haven't seen the most recent thing, she finally gets her happy moment at
Yes,
the
so
end
good.
of...
Yeah.
I didn't think it was
Stilgar.
ever going to happen.
And yet it
With Stilgar.
Oh my God, this makes me so happy. Please tell people what cocaine is.
Okay.
Because, yes.
Now we actually...
And I'm not saying cocaine. I am not mispronouncing cocaine when I say this. I just need to put this. Please explain what that is.
We actually have a pretty good opener to the candy chapter. Is it cookies?
I think it's cookies.
Cookies. The cookies and bars chapter where we explain it really well. But basically it's like, it's the Germanic/European version of Big Rock Candy Mountain. It's just like this magical land where, where fowl are asking to be eaten.
Yeah,
and
roast
like
fowl run through the streets
Yeah.
and the, pastries rain down from the sky. And
yeah, the, wine, the river is, flowing with wine and whatnot. And it was the name that Marion had given to her house.
in Cincinnati.
Having grown up from Cincinnati, I'm surprised by it.
Yeah, no, it's they had like 8 acres of land. It was farmland at that time. Now it's developed and it's a developed suburb. But my grandfather was an architect and he built the house. It's like a Bauhaus style. It was a Bauhaus style. It's sad. It's a sad story because we ended up selling the house, or my father did. But that's where I spent my summers, and it was a fantastic place, and I can understand why she called it that. But anyways, all of the recipes that she developed in that kitchen that she was really proud of, that's what she called them, was cocaine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's in the title of some of the things. Because I remember thinking, what the hell's that?
Yeah, a lot of people have had that same question and have been very confused.
Thank you for explaining it.
Yes.
That was a roundabout explanation.
No, that makes all the sense because it's sort of the feeling that you're trying to conjure for this. What are your hopes for this edition?
I mean, honestly, the kind of the ethos behind the book, at least as I understand it, how I've interpreted it, is that, we're trying to be there for home cooks. And, like if we get more people, maybe not necessarily like people that find themselves in the kitchen, like we're not, of course it would be great to, get more people in the kitchen, but we're there for people that are actually like, okay, I've decided to start cooking. I do not necessarily need a sales job on how, like this is not, a glossy food magazine. It's not necessarily like, going to be.
Yeah, it's not a sexy book, but it's a very pragmatic, it's a pragmatic book, and it's written for people who have questions or. Yeah,
we try to anticipate what people are going to be asking when they are actually in the kitchen, and, or when they're in the grocery store and they don't understand, like they have encounter an ingredient they've never seen before. I don't know. It's just really hard to. It's really hard to boil down to one thing because it's such a large book. And
I think we do just want to we want the book to be there for cooks in their hour of need. Like we're not trying to imbue cooking with some kind of moral weight or goodness. Like we understand that people cook for all different reasons. Some people cook because they like to, other people cook because they have to, and they have to and they maybe don't like it, but they're still going to have questions, and we're trying to provide answers in a measured, friendly, approachable way that doesn't shame anyone for not knowing the answer already or doesn't assume a lot of knowledge.
We're definitely like out there. We're there for novices, but we're also there for for more seasoned cooks, seasoned cooks, who may need like a refresher on like I don't know, the best way to whip egg whites, or
how many cups of water do I need for 2 cups of wheat berries, or whatever.
And it's going to be there,
and it will be there.
I guess it's like that's kind of what we also want it to be like. There's so many cookbooks out there that are niche, or that like restaurant cookbooks or what have you. Just a lot of cookbooks out there,
and they're great.
They're all great, but they're all like not. I mean, just by virtue of the fact that they're not as big as ours, and they didn't have like 90 years to like refine the message or whatever. Like they're not going to be telling the whole story, and we're hoping to like kind of be there as a supplement for all of those awesome cookbooks that are out now.
Yeah. And I really do keep thinking about that Goethe quote.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah.
And what's the translation of it, or the what?
Yeah, it's like what thy fathers have given you, earn it anew.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is.
I think y'all have.
I hope so.
I just remember when you told me about that, and about that quote, and thinking like, oh yeah, that's what your Ouija board is. I would not be surprised if your Ouija board spelled that quote out. Actually,
no, those 2 dedications, like the one in the 64 and the one in the 75, kind of they've totally guided how I've approached the book. Is not just earning it anew and like some sort of like I put in the hard work or whatever, but just like I don't know, just remaining true to the intent, or what I think of as the intent that Marian had, and that would be to like provide like as much information and as much like help as possible for home cooks.
And I think the key is also earning it anew doesn't mean just recycling it and promoting it as like this old school kitschy, oh, isn't that cute? It's like, we want this book to be used. We want it to be, we love it when we see people's copies of Joy and they're torn to shreds or held together with duct tape, or have a electric coil stove burner imprinted on the cover. Like those are the books that's what we want the book to look like in people's kitchens.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. And I think this is probably a good place to ask you a few questions that I ask everybody. And this is, I always joke, the Oprah moment, like saying it out loud, because I know how much blood, sweat, and tears and everything you have put into this. And you can you can answer this separately or together. What is, after all this is done, you're done with your book tour, all this stuff, what is the selfish thing you want for you?
It's hard to even... We've been working on this book for so long that when people ask what I want to do after it's done, I don't really know what to say because it doesn't. First of all, it doesn't feel real yet.
I feel like it's going to involve a vacation of some kind.
Yeah, preferably.
What does that look like? Where's the like?
I don't know. We've been talking about going to France, but I
think
don't know.
you've earned that.
Yeah.
Or honestly, I'd love
Just
to go anywhere.
Oregon coast.
The
would be
Oregon
fine.
coast would be great.
Yeah.
Or anywhere. Scotland. I would love to go to Scotland.
Oh my God, you would love Scotland so much.
I mean, there's beautiful vistas and there's Scotch, those are two things that I think.
I know.
Yeah, I feel like a Scotch tour would be nice. It would be nice.
Okay, there's a place that I want to send you. Please, people of Ardenazig Resort, if you're ever listening to this, it's in the West Highlands, and you pretty much can't get a cell signal there. It's right. We picked it specifically because it was by Oban, which I love, and there's distillery only Oban in Lagavulin that they have there, and you can go foraging. At least
Oh my God.
The chef who used to be there, Gary Goldie, was also like a master forager, and he took us out in the woods to forage and had like mushrooms and stuff. I want you guys to go there.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, that sounds
Oh,
incredible.
it's so beautiful. Oh, I love Scotland so much. I wonder if there's a Scottish like equivalent of the joy of cooking.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, maybe I don't know.
Mrs. Bean.
It's not even.
that's
I brought
British.
That comparison is made, but it's not.
Well, I brought up joy to British friends of mine. They're all like, "Oh, we know that. We cook from it."
Yeah, there was actually a British edition of The Joy of Cooking.
Yeah, there's one like in the 50s, and then there was one in the 97 edition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, like I want to be hiking more. that's pretty much what I want. I just want to be out in nature more. I feel like, before we really got going, like in these last 3 years, like I was just, I don't know, I was just want to do more, like have a healthier routine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been really hard to have a healthy routine.
Yeah.
Working on this book because there's always so much. It just feels like you never dig yourself out enough to be able to step away for 5 minutes, which I know that's a thing we tell ourselves, and maybe we can actually step away for 5 minutes, but psychologically you feel like you can't. So I think we've both been a bit cooped up.
Yeah, it's more cooped up than a diet issue or something. It's
yeah.
like, I've just been staring at a computer for years.
I want this for both of you so badly. I walked with some dear friends and my husband up to the top of Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh, and you do that hike up the mountain, and then you stand and you just stare around. And then if you walk the particular way down the mountain, there's a really great Scotch pub like down there at the bottom, and it's real great. I really want them to be waiting there for you.
Yes, I want that too.
I think that's such a good thing. So I know this has got to be a question because like you haven't probably had to have a lot of say in the things that you're cooking or doing, but each of you, what's your comfort food?
God. I mean, I feel like we frequently will just go to like kind of just like rice and beans.
Yes.
And like
we eat a lot of rice and beans.
A lot of rice and beans, and like, during the summer, just like a simple grilled protein of some kind. Sometimes like, like marinated carne asada skirt steak maybe, or something like that. But I don't know, like in wintertime,
we do a lot of braises.
We do a lot of braises.
Long braises.
Yeah, ragus, for sure. I like doing ragu with like either lamb or goat. I appreciate those the most.
I think I agree with all those things. I also feel like so this is a comfort food thing that I actually don't make it very often. It's just really labor intensive, and it makes an epic crap ton of food. But it's a chicken and dumplings recipe from my great grandmother, and she taught me how to make it, and it's actually going in the book.
That is very comforting.
But it is that's for me the archetype of comfort food. It's just this really rich, thick broth with just shredded chicken and these flat dumplings that sort of get a little bit puffy, and I don't know, it just has the best texture, the slurpy texture when they get cooked, and you just cook it for hours, and it's amazing.
Oh, and asopao.
Oh, asopao de pollo.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's a Puerto Rican chicken and rice dish, and it's fantastic. It's just like the best.
It's like a soup, and it has what, green olives
and pimento and what else? God, I'm just blanking.
Rice and chicken, obviously.
Yeah.
So good. But
And ham, of course.
Ham.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, is it in the book?
It
Yeah.
is.
Yay!
Yeah.
The chicken and dumpling. That's my husband's one too, and it's his.
Really?
And it's his North Carolina. I think, is she Eastern Carolina? I think like her, and but sometimes called chicken and pastry.
Okay, yeah.
Well, that's pretty much.
That's probably exactly what it is.
Flat dumplings. Like,
Yeah, we served it at our wedding.
Yeah. Maybe our recipes are almost the same.
I would be 0% shocked if it was actually from her edition of Joy Cooking. Honestly.
Well, actually, I don't think
No,
Joy
has
has-
fluffy dumplings.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
like the
Like,
biscuit
it did-
kind
like the
that
older
you,
editions did.
that you drop on the top.
Oh,
and,
right.
But yeah.
Yeah, this is the flat rolled out one
Yeah.
kind of thing, and I've had to adapt it for like a paleo diet because of my wonky gut stuff. So actually, I did sort of an adaptation of one that the Lee brothers do that is a sweet potato dumpling, and I did it with that banana flour.
Oh, that sounds really
It's
good.
actually really, really good. And orange zest, it's just like, but it's that same texture that is so comfy.
I've never
banana
worked
flour.
with banana flour.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
something we should have covered.
Y'all have enough on your plate. What is the last meal that you had that made you emotional?
There's a. Well, I was gonna say Eam. I think that I got a little emotional about Eam.
What's that?
It's there's a restaurant that just opened up. Well, not just, but it's maybe several months. It's been several months, but it's this Thai restaurateur Earl Ninsum and then the Matt's Barbecue guy, and they collaborated on this place that does. It's basically Texas. Well, not just Texas style barbecue, but also Thai. And so, yeah, just so curry, like a burn-end curry. I think that burn-end's curry would kind of.
that was amazing.
It was really, really good. It was fantastic. And then they do this pork steak that I think it's their like homage to like this famous Texas barbecue lady who does this pork steak. But it was fantastic.
Yeah, that was really amazing.
I mean, honestly, we were talking about comfort food earlier and all the things we mentioned. Yes, those are all extremely comforting, but just in general, like Vietnamese and Thai food are kind of our go-tos. Yeah.
We don't eat out a lot for dinner, but when we go out for lunch, we'll go get either like Vietnamese or Cambodian soup, or we do like the Vietnamese bun noodle bowls, like the noodle salad bowls with all the amazing vegetables, and then there'll be like spring rolls and whatever kind of grilled meat, chicken or pork or whatever, and that's also comfort food. I think
That sounds so lovely.
it's amazingly delicious.
So, what is the last meal that somebody made for you in their home?
That's a good question.
That's the chefs. Like nobody cooks for chefs, and I assume cookbook authors must have some of that too.
I mean, some people have said that like it's gets them really nervous when they cook for us.
Yeah.
But the people who actually know us, they don't give a crap.
And they'll just be like, "Here's something from your book."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember though. I don't remember the last time we went over.
Must have been Dave and Rachel.
Oh yeah, we have some really close friends that live close by, and they're not intimidated by cooking for us at all, which is amazing and they like to try new things all the time. So I feel like we have I don't know, there are definitely some of our friends that we can have dinner with, and neither of them are in the culinary industry, so that's also refreshing, because I feel like sometimes when you are just surrounded by it all day, the last thing you want to do,
You want to talk shop?
you don't want to talk about your work. So but what did he's been into barbecuing, and
he's been into barbecuing, but he's also been into that Jake Angiel Lopez method for doing chicken, where you put it like of course it's chicken again. You put chicken thighs, like you brown them, and then you add a braising liquid and turn them upside, skin up, so that they're like half submerged, and you end up with crispy skin. You put it in the oven, and then you end up with crispy skin and like really tender meat.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was doing that last time, but
I think it's Lopez Alt.
Sorry,
Sorry, Kenji.
Sorry about that.
It's hard. What living musician would you want to cook for, and what would you cook for them? And this is saying it out to the universe in case they're like, yeah, of course they're listening to this podcast. But who is it? And you can answer that separately.
You go first. I have to look at my phone.
God.
Yeah, who are you listening to on your phone?
Okay, that's really hard.
I know, it's a really, really tough one. I have my answer.
Well, I'm just curious what your answer is.
No one ever asked me that. I've been waiting to be answered. It would be Robert Smith, and I would make tea for him. I would make like tea and like a crazy cake for Robert Smith.
Living musician.
Or maybe a cocktail. Also, it would be spiked tea.
Ooh.
I think a lot about this. I would want to have like a Mad Hatter tea party with Robert Smith.
I feel ill-prepared.
No, it's all right. Like, we all have our sort of comfort musicians in addition to... And there are a few musicians who've been brought up over and over on this one. I'm just curious to see if it's going to be either one of them.
Probably not. I don't know.
Can you think of anyone?
I can't really think of anyone. I mean...
I'm going to think of someone as soon as we pack. As soon as you pack up the microphone, I'm going to think of somebody. Honestly, a lot of what I've been listening to lately, because we're in editing mode, is stuff that I enjoy because it doesn't obstruct my thoughts.
Yeah. So what is your writing? Mine's Beach House.
Beach House is good. Yeah.
And the Twin Peaks soundtrack.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Julie Cruz. Would you go for Julie Cruz?
You can say who you like.
I'm just trying to think of the latest ones. I just listen to a lot of electronic music.
Yeah.
Aphex Twin is like, of course, like a good standard, well-known artist, but you know, I like Oettinger. I like Comtruse is a more recent artist that I like. Clark. I'm just into that nerdy, dancey crap.
I love that. Like, that actually is music that I love to listen to, like while writing or doing housework or something. Taiko. I listen to a lot of chillwave.
I was gonna say Taiko
Taiko's
is good for editing.
Taiko's good. Yeah.
And the XX and Washed Out. Like, that's
all.
Washed
Out's good.
Washed Out's good.
I'm going to see Beach House soon, and I'm so excited about it. Awesome. Like, I actually thank them in my book. Like, the sort of all the bands that I listened to while I was editing. But so, like, all these electronic musicians, should you happen to be coming through Portland, stop by their house and like listen to them. So yeah, who is the number one most played on your phone there, Megan?
Number one, recently, Comtruse and Taiko, and then I've been, Tame Impala. I really like.
Okay, actually, George Mendez brought up Tame Impala as
really?
He wanted to go for.
Yeah, I really like Tame Impala a lot, and also Waxahachie.
Oh yeah.
We went to see her recently when she came to Portland, and I really love her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've tended to love more folk / I feel like singer-songwriter is not the right word, but I like
it's a dirty.
I like women kind of folk artists or leaning in that direction, and John has definitely introduced me to the joys of electronic music.
Yeah.
Some of which I like and some of which I really don't.
No, I'd make Richard D. James mashed potatoes.
Please, it was Richard D. James. Who is that?
That's Aphex Twin.
Oh, so that's actually, I just never knew the actual name. Like, come over to their house for some mashed potatoes.
What about Madlib?
Oh yeah, I would make Madlib. I'm not even sure what he would. I don't know. What would I make him?
I don't know.
I mean, he did that Brazilian album. That's really awesome. So maybe some feijoada.
Oh, I love that.
That's actually going to be in that's in the new edition, the feijoada.
So any of these artists, if you're traveling through Portland or if you catch them on book tour,
we'd love to say hi.
So with all of this self-care while writing, if you had 5 uninterrupted minutes for self-care, what do you do?
Stretch. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I hunch. I need to
Same.
Yeah. Yeah, I hunch over. I don't know. Look at something far away, which I don't do enough. Mm-hmm. I feel like I know my prescription has changed. I'm not sure exactly why, but I have some ideas.
Yeah, looking at a computer screen a lot, I don't think it's been great for our eyes. I actually, the other week, I've been feeling, I get really overwhelmed because, obviously all the stuff that's going on with the book, and I have a second job that can be very demanding as well. So I remember I was feeling extremely anxious the other day, and I was like, you know what? I have 5 minutes. Like, I can give myself 5 minutes, and I have a meditation app on my phone, and I just listen to a 5-minute loving kindness meditation that is really soothing, and just close my eyes for 5 minutes and try not to think about anything else.
I love that. And I really feel like a lot of people are going to get I'm going to get emotional right here for a second. You're going to bring a lot of meditation and joy and connection and happiness to people through this book. And I cannot wait for people to get to experience your version of this and everything that you have brought to it, and get to know who you are through this and what you have done, and get the copy themselves. And I can't even imagine who they're going to give those copies to. So thank you for bringing this to the culture, and I just thank you. And thank you so much for our guests today, John Becker and Megan Scott. And where can they find you on social?
Where you can look for, I think it's The Joy of Cooking on Instagram. I have to check really quick because I can never remember.
I think on Twitter it's just Joy of
Cooking. Yes, it's The Joy of Cooking. And on Twitter I think it's just Joy of Cooking.
Yeah. Joy of Cooking, is it thejoyofcooking.com, joyofcooking.com?
Right now it's, if you type in joyofcooking.com, you will be redirected to our current website, but that's one of the many things on our laundry list of crap that we have to do before.
It's our very old website. Sorry.
Thank you so much to my guests, John Becker and Megan Scott. And, we were talking all about pre-publication there. The book has been out for several months now, and it's just a stunner, really and truly. Everything that we talked about in the podcast, it was such a joy to see it on the page there, to see those gorgeous woodcuts and the labor that they put into all of those recipes, and the range and scope of voices and cultures that they have worked into this beloved book to make it a reflection of America and how we are cooking now. And like I said, we're cooking more than probably ever before at home right now. So if you don't have a copy, now is a really great time to order it from ideally an independent bookseller, who I'm sure would be really, really happy to have your business right now. And it's a wonderful time also to go into your bookshelves or ask a relative or to go and find theirs and take a picture of it. And you can tweet it at me at Kitten with a Whip, or at them at Joy of Cooking, and let them know how much this book means to you and how much it has meant to your family for all of these years. And I am so thrilled to say that the edition that John and Megan worked on is going to be in people's libraries and in their home kitchens and passed down for decades and decades to come. It's a really truly special thing. So get yourself a copy of that. Get one for someone you love. I actually gave a copy to my grandniece for Christmas this past year, and watching her eyes light up. I think she's 11 years old, and she's going to have that book with her for the rest of her life. So I thank you so much to them, and you can follow them on all their social handles. You can see that in the copy of this edition of Communal Table. I want to thank also our producers, Jennifer Martnick, Margot Gotthelp, and Hallie Tarpley, and our photo director, Sarah Crowder. Thank you, as always, for making this sound great. Again, the sound is a little funny. I'm recording this, the intro and outro from my own apartment in Brooklyn. We recorded the other part in a hotel room in Santa Fe, where all the motorcycles were coming from. Funny, one just went by in Brooklyn as well. But they make us look and sound good, so thank you so much for that. And again, it doesn't hurt to shout out Crisis Text Line at 741-741. Everybody's struggling right now. It's a really difficult time, and there are really great folks there to help. So we've also been talking about that a lot on Food and Wine Pro, foodandwine.com/FWPro. We have resources for folks especially folks who work in hospitality, who are going through a tough time right now. You can see all of it in our coronavirus updates, in our guide to mental health and sobriety resources there, and also how to sign up for the newsletter, the Food and Wine Pro newsletter that is written by our editor-in-chief, Hunter Asher Lewis, backed up by Osette Babur and me with a weekly meditation from our in-house guru, Kelsey Youngman, and that'll show up in your inbox Friday at noon if we have our stuff together. Otherwise, it goes out Saturday. But we're there to cut through the clutter and get you the stories that help you most in this time. We all really need the good news. We need the help. We all need something right now. And you know what we need? We need cooking, and we need joy more than ever. Good listeners, beautiful people, take good care of yourself. Until the next time.